Good morning and welcome back to Morning Coffee. I am Mark Cook and we are talking about vaping this morning. It's a hot topic. You guys may or may not know a lot about it, but we're here to give you some of that education. And we've been talking this morning kind of about what vaping is, a little bit about the industry, how it works and all of that stuff. And we're talking to Gregory Conley, who's the president of the American Vaping Association. We're talking to Mimi Egberts from Major Flava Vape Shop, and we're talking to Alicia Pisa from the Vape Stop, right? Shop?
Vape Shop.
The Vape Shop
Hamilton.
in Hamilton, New Jersey. So there's a big thing going on right now about the Food and Drug Administration and government regulation and all this stuff about how now the government wants to get involved with the regulation of electronic smoking devices and vaping devices. So, Greg, I know that you are the most educated on this topic, being the president of the American Vaping Association. So I want you to give the folks out there a little bit of a background on what's going on with this regulation.
Sure. Back in 2009, the FDA stated that e-cigarettes were drugs. They weren't tobacco products, they weren't nicotine products, they were drugs. And we thought it was absurd, we thought it was illegal. We turned out to be correct. We took them to federal court, we took them to the Court of Appeals and won. So since 2011, early 2011, when that decision came down, the FDA proceeded to sit on their hands for approximately 3 years until finally in 2014 they released their plans on how they thought the industry should be regulated. There was public comment. It's now at the Office of Management and Budget at the White House, and we have been sounding the alarms for the past 2 years that if this regulation goes through, it will actually protect big tobacco, protect combustible cigarettes, lead to the closing of thousands of small businesses. And the long story short on that is that the FDA is using an ancient date, February 15th, 2007, when there really were no vapor products on the market, and saying that any product that has come to the market since 2007 must go through a multi-million-dollar retroactive pre-market review process. And if this goes through, even the FDA, which has a vested interest in making the numbers, the financial impact look far better than it actually would be, the FDA's estimated 98.5% of products will end up banned. The real number is 99.9%.
Yeah, what was available in 2007?
Absolutely nothing. Perhaps an e-cigar by a company named Enjoy,
Yeah.
but those products are junk and will provide no benefit to consumers.
That's kind of dangerous. This is a dangerous precedent that's about to get set because it's another situation where, look, you can get really political on this if you want to, but more freedoms are being infringed on, right? Mm-hmm. And not only that, this is going to have a real major impact on this growing industry, this business that is providing jobs and livelihoods for people. So you guys know, how is this regulation going to affect you?
I think it would put us out of business. There would be virtually nothing left on the market to purchase.
And it's because of the simple fact that if they grandfather the date at 2007, there's just no products that are going to be available. And you're not going to keep a store open for this crappy electronic cigar that nobody wants, right? So thousands and thousands of dollars are now lost, never to be gained again, by people that have taken the entrepreneurial spirit and tried to grow a business.
I'll correct you.
Please.
Those millions of dollars
Yes.
will go into the cigarette industry as well as the black market. There will still be sales. They just won't be supporting jobs on Main Street. They'll be supporting people in China, in Ecuador, and wherever else people will turn to for their sales, because people aren't just going to stop. They're either going to go back to smoking or
Right.
they're going to go to the black and gray market.
That's a good point, and I certainly underestimated the dollar amount, because looking at the industry as a whole, it is a multi-million-dollar industry right now. So what are the dynamics? What can people do to try and make their voice heard?
First of all, they can do this. So honestly, there's a co-writer, right? That's is that what we're working on mainly is just in general reaching out to all of our local authorities, state authorities, wherever you live. You can reach out even out of your district. Like recently I was able to reach out to it was California, and then it was Indiana, but I was able to get through, and although the response was the same response they send everybody, just one more voice was heard. But we need to gather as many people as possible, vapors, non-vapors. There's the way I see it, and this is coming from an ex-smoker, but before I ever smoked, my dad smoked, and before my dad smoked, my grandfather smoked. So one way or another, had I never smoked, I would have known a smoker that I loved. So all of us, there's no way you live in a shell where you don't know a smoker that you love. We pray for a solution our whole life. From the first year you start smoking, you spend the rest of your life trying to quit.
Right.
And then how can I quit? Well, now you finally have an answer and you don't want it. That's crazy. I mean, there's actual groups and advocates against that don't want the solution. You have the solution in front of you. So I think in general, all vapors and non-vapors who agree with vaping need to let their voice be heard, let people know that this is a viable solution to a serious issue, and start contacting legislation and anybody they can, and let their voice be heard.
And we have a bill in Congress, H.R. 2058, by Representative Tom Cole. It has 51 co-sponsors at the moment. That bill would say that products that are on the market now do not have to go through the retroactive pre-market review. The FDA can still regulate them. The FDA can still do a whole lot that could harm the industry. This is certainly not a get out of jail free card by any means. There are still plenty of issues that are going to give small businesses problems. But our hope, we are actively negotiating down in Washington, D.C. with both Republicans and Democrats in hopes of getting the language of H.R. 2058 put into another bill by the end of the year. And we'll see what happens with the FDA regulation. There is a slight possibility that it could be slowed down, oddly enough, because of Cuba. Because the FDA regulation also would bring in cigars under the FDA's authority.
Okay.
And
That's crazy.
The idea of these Cuban cigar makers, they have their freedom now to sell into the United States.
Right.
And I think President Obama was recently briefed while in Cuba on the fact that all those cigars would be illegal to sell in the United States unless these poor cigar companies go through millions of dollars of testing on their own. So this could end up slowing this regulation, or unfortunately it could lead to the White House simply saying, well, take cigars out of there and everyone else, they're on their own. We'll see what happens there.
It's interesting though, because you touched on an interesting piece of it, that the American Vaping Association is almost willing to kind of bend, and you guys are willing to work with them a little bit to be like, look, let's just make this make sense. We're not saying that we want you guys to, we'd like you to go away completely, but we understand that that's probably not going to happen. So with that being kept in mind, you guys are actually willing to work and make sure that it at least is based in sound sense.
Absolutely.
Yes, and since the FDA released that deeming regulation, as they call it, about 2 years ago, we've had so much new science come out. We've had Public Health England in the UK, the UK government's main health agency, come out with a 118-page report saying that vaping is about at least 95% less hazardous than smoking, that it helps smokers quit, that we need to tell smokers the truth about them. That report was endorsed by the Royal College of Physicians, Cancer Research UK, Action on Smoking and Health. Pretty much every one of their public health groups has come out and said, we need to get smokers to switch to these products. And so our hope is that the FDA's Mitch Zeller, or at least people, the higher-ups at the White House that have the authority to stop this or change it, that they'll recognize that a lot has changed in the past 2 years, and this prohibitionist regulation, quote unquote, is not the way to go for public health or small business.
So we really want to make sure that people have the right ability to be able to go and affect this change. So we need to talk to the lawmakers themselves, right? So this is a big election year. Is this the type of issue that a candidate will say, I am for this bill or I'm against this bill? Or is this one of those things that you got to kind of dig a little bit deeper and maybe get put a phone call into the office to find out where a candidate would stand on this?
I strongly urge people to call up their Congress representative, call up their senators, and ask them to support H.R. 2058. Ask any candidates who aren't in office but are running whether they would add their name to the bill. We need these representatives because right now our base of support is Republicans, but it's Republicans largely in the South and in the Midwest. From New Jersey, Congressman Leonard Lance, is on a very important committee in the House that will hopefully hold hearings on this. And we are hopeful that Congressman Lance will recognize all the businesses in his district and around him and actually ask him some tough questions of the FDA when this comes up.
So the American Vaping Association, I'm sure, has a lot of resources that help people get in touch with the right people. Throw the website out there so people can get there right now.
I'll throw out our website, vaping.info, but also throw out CASAA.org, CASAA.org. They are the consumer advocacy group.
Okay.
If you search their domain with HR 2058, you'll come to their call to action. It only takes a minute to send an email. You can spend another minute, make a couple phone calls. That is what you should do as a vapor. And then as an added benefit, and I'm plugging not even plugging my own group, plugging CASAA. Once you send an email, you'll be a member for free. And when there are legislative threats in your own state, you'll receive updates from them, which is extremely important.
Yeah, that's very important. So how about from the shop owner side of things? I know that when I go to my local place, and I'll be sure to stop into Major Flavor because that's very close to my house. And then when I'm up in the Hamilton area, I'll make sure I go to Alicia's place. So I know when I go to my local place, there is some signage around the store that does talk about the regulations.
Absolutely.
Do you guys have like directions for people, like if someone were to pop in?
Oh yeah, and we even have it set up on our iPad POS system to where they can go right to some of these sites and agencies and sign up. They can send their email right there. Even though petitions, people still go like that's the old-fashioned way. Whenever there's a petition, we have it set up.
We still do that.
Yep, they come in and we have them sign right there on the spot. We even have a camera set up, very much like these big studio cameras.
Right.
Where if somebody wants to tell their story, that they can, and
Beautiful.
we have a documented. They sign a paper saying we will allow you to use it, anywhere, government agencies, whatever. But we've collected several stories on paper, and we have just started to receive a lot of clientele, family members that have said, I want to talk about, like my mom, my dad, like this is amazing that while sitting and waiting in the lounge for their parents and their family, they want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's
so
cool. That's really cool.
We've done a lot to advocate in that way. We've also had fundraiser parties. We're going to have another fundraiser party in the end of April. And when we're there, we try really hard because there's like groups of people, and you not believe how hard it is to get them to grasp how serious it is.
Right.
Because like they think we're saying, oh, we're going to lose our jobs. Well, if I lose my job, I still want to vape.
Right.
So like regardless of which way it goes down, like you're gonna have me doing an illegal activity because I will be vaping one way or another. Like that's the part.
And it really comes down to the old phrase of all politics is local, because your own New Jersey Assembly representative, Herb Conway, Assemblyman Conway, he is the sponsor of a bill in the New Jersey legislature to tax vapor products at something like 75% of wholesale.
And we tried to get him to come and speak with me in person. It's kind of funny how that worked out, but every parade and every time he would go around to the town, it was always, I will be here, and I will get back to you, and I will, but never has actually allowed me to have that like 2-second conversation just to say, look around, what do you think?
And so at some point, if Assemblyman Conway refuses to actually meet real people in his district who have had their lives impacted by these products, it might be time, and maybe there's no time in 2016, but in 2018, somebody might need to run against him in his local primary just because if he's not going to represent his constituents, somebody has to.
Yeah,
somebody has to.
That seems like a really, really aggressive, and I don't want to speak too much about it because I don't know exactly,
reality.
But that seems like a really aggressive tax that I
And Senator Vitale, it's no joke either. I mean, that he made the Clean Air Act, which totally understandable. I have no problem following the rules of the Clean Air Act. But when you're in a tobacco shop that has a separate room allocated for tobacco, you're allowed to sample. So when you're in a vape shop, why is it so difficult for somebody to grasp the concept of you want to sample your flavors, and
Right.
you came into a shop,
Right.
you were carded and identified as the proper age, you are either a smoker, an ex-smoker, or someone who wants to vape. Why would the Clean Air Act be in effect inside my personal business property when you're walking in, it says vape shop?
Right.
You know you're walking into a vape shop.
Right.
There should be no question. At that point, you're now in my property. You're where I am
Right.
by choice. So if you choose not to want to be around the so-called vapey air, walk away.
Right.
Why does the Clean Air Act have to pertain to that
Right.
specifically? And Vitali's very, very ruthless when it comes to, like, he will go anywhere inside any building and say, like, oh, well, even though, you know, you're conducting business, you have a tobacco license, you have these things, you're still not allowed to sample those flavors. I'm going to fine you. Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to open a business in my state to
Yeah.
help people and then tell me that they can't try the product out.
That's a little
Like,
rough.
yeah.
That's a little rough. Now, Greg, I want to ask you this question. It's a little bit on the lighter side. So, you know, as the president of the American Vaping Association, do you get the chance to get down on the floor and argue with some of these guys and really
Yeah.
kind of roll up your sleeves and make it happen?
Yes, I've testified probably at 30, 35 committee meetings in 15, 16, 17 states over the past few years. I love the opportunity to do these, especially when I get questions. I've been in front of the Connecticut legislature for, I think my record time was 35 minutes
Wow.
answering questions from legislators. And any opportunity to do that, I take. I was just in Vermont and Rhode Island helping out some state groups and testifying on
That's
bad
cool.
bills. So that's one of the pleasures of
Yeah,
this
that's like one of the cool parts of the job, right? Like you
Yeah.
get to do that sort of thing, and you're you seem very comfortable getting up there and doing your thing. So.
And you get the representatives that have genuine questions, and then you have the representatives that sit there and think that they'll be able to stump the person
Yeah.
and make
Right.
them look stupid. And that's where I come in, because hopefully I've heard every question 100 times and know
Right.
the answer, hopefully.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. So we're going to take another quick break on morning coffee, and we'll be right back after this.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to make a really great sub, this is what we do. It's what we've been doing. It's what we've always done. It's what we'll always do. So what are you doing? Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Solano Community College transformed my life.
And gave me the opportunities I needed to succeed.
I received the same university caliber education.
Without the pressures of debt holding me back. Affordable and flexible, I fulfilled my undergraduate classes.
Getting to the information I truly have a passion for.
The decision to attend SCC empowered my future.
And made my dream of attending Yale University a reality. Solano Community College, the educated choice.
Today's show has been sponsored by More Than Gifts. Come see our new location in Marlton, New Jersey. Not just gifts, but more.
All right, welcome back to Morning Coffee. I am Mark Cook, and we are wrapping up our vaping segment this morning. And we have learned so much about the vaping industry, and we have learned that, you know, you may need to get involved. If you want to protect the vaping industry as it is right now, you guys out there may need to get involved as well. And we've had an awesome morning. We've been talking to Gregory Conley, from the American Vaping Association, who's given us tons and tons of awesome information about the legal aspects of things, as well as a background on the industry itself. We also have Mimi from Major Flavor and Alicia from the Vape Shop. So we are about to wrap things up, guys, and I want everybody to know where they can reach all of you and get involved if they want to learn more about vaping, if they want to try the new pina colada flavor, if they want to get involved with government regulation and how they can stop that. We want to get all of the information out there, so I want to start with Greg. Greg, look right into that camera, number one, and give all of the pertinent information.
You can go to our website at vaping, VAPING.info. We are on Facebook at Vaping Association, on Twitter at AVA Board. I'm a Medford resident. There's another vape shop if you're in Cherry Hill, Firehouse e-cigs. I'll be doing a guest bartending night there in mid-May, it looks like. So if you have any questions, feel free to come out.
That is awesome. That is really funny. I was taken a little bit back. That's actually the shop that I go to.
Yeah.
So
We steal Greg for all like our events, all the shops.
That's-
Any shop that's into advocacy definitely contacts Greg. It's like, hey, Greg.
But you know what's cool, Mimi, is that it's like
does
this
it.
amazing resource
it.
and this amazing guy
Yeah.
right here in our backyard that like, hey, yeah, we're gonna use you and we're gonna take as much advantage of you as we can, right?
Well, it's
Because
true,
we got
because
him.
we need to have somebody who has a voice of reason.
Right.
And
Right.
who can make sense and break it down. Like it doesn't matter whether I'm a business owner or extremely educated or not. Like there's still things that need to be said in a way that makes sense to me and the consumer, because I'm still a consumer too.
You're right, and Greg has a very level head,
Yes.
and the difference would be is that he can actually speak intelligently about the topic, whereas if I was your advocate, I would just be like a crazy lunatic screaming at people and
Yeah,
hollering,
like,
and
what
that
are
is
you
not the
thinking?
way. That is not the way to get anything done.
Exactly.
So Mimi, why don't you look? We'll say
Which
camera
camera am I?
2,
Hi,
and
camera
why don't you
2.
give all of the information about Major Flavor?
So I'm Mimi from Major Flavor Vape Den. We're located in Riverside, New Jersey, which is the South Jersey area, Burlington County. We have a certified ISO 6 clean room facility where we manufacture our e-liquids, so you can have custom blends. So for those who have a hard time really finding flavors to stick with, that's what we kind of base our business around, is finding something you can stick with and be successful with, and just, hands-on creating your own and seeing it made in a true ISO 6 clean room facility. And my website is majorflavorvapeden.com, and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we have all of those pieces of information. If anybody ever can't get in touch with Greg, they can always get in touch with me, and I will make sure I get them to the right advocates in their localities as well. I do that as often as possible.
That's great. All right, Alicia, you are up, and we're going to do it to camera 4.
The vape shop is located at 866 Route 33 in Hamilton, New Jersey. We can also be found on Facebook, Instagram at the Vape Shop 23, and we are here to answer any questions for anybody. Thank
So
you.
if you guys haven't realized, they want you to get involved, get in touch. If even it's just a quick email, they will respond to you. If you have any questions, make sure you seek the information and the answers. I want to thank everybody so much for being here this morning. This was excellent. I learned a lot. I think everybody out there learned a lot. And I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, as well as everybody out there. This was Morning Coffee. I'm Mark Cook. Have a great day.